going to look at some of these clips from the media, the ones who are not trying to build bridges with President Trump, which are most of them. And they are, of course, sticking to their tried and true favorite fear tactics, which is to let their viewers know that they basically need to hunker down and prepare for the worst. So I just want to say, I don't know about you guys, but I honestly think that the media is looking forward to Trump being in office again, because as we know, their ratings have drastically been declining over the last few years because, as it turns out, trying to make a president who is practically a vegetable sound exciting and paint him as a strong leader is not nearly as exciting as trying to paint someone with a personality like Donald Trump as a dictator and a monster. So the former has not kept their viewership up. And of course, the declining ratings is also because, as we've lived firsthand under the Biden-Harris regime, and most Americans have recognized the reality of our quality of life significantly declining due to Democrat anti-American policies, they have really had their eyes open to just how big the media lies are when everything they say is the exact opposite of what's going on in real life. So in other words, they've tanked their own credibility, and the only people still watching them are too far gone for rationality to ever break through again. So I think they're really gearing up for their anti-Trump nonsense again, and it's way more exciting when their target is front and center. So he's not there yet, but that's not going to stop them from spewing their misinformation and trying to keep their base from leaving them by controlling them with fear and lies. One of the favorite things that the media is loving to talk about right now is this issue of illegal immigration and how the right, we want to hold people accountable for breaking our laws and crossing our border without going through the proper process, which is something that the left is describing as wanting to use the military to basically open fire on anyone who even looks like they weren't born here. So the first thing that Trump has basically said, and I think that this has been from his name, Tom Homan. I don't know why my brain just went blank, but wanting to weed out the criminals and the gangs and the traffickers and send them back first. But the media spin on this is refusing to distinguish the gang members from women and children, because doing that would expose that they know that deportations on some level are actually a good thing. So they have to lump everybody together and pretend that women and children are the target, and then attach the worst possible method of deportation that they can think of to the Trump policy, which is just creating one giant basket of propaganda. So all of that said, here is CNN, this woman on CNN, no idea what her name is, Julie Roginski, perhaps, never heard of her, just going on this unhinged rant, just basically just doubling down on everything that I just outlined. So let's have a listen.
With every fiber of my being, because I'll probably be one of those people, that if anybody comes for these people and tries to drag them out by force, there will be protests of people like me, American citizens, who are going to stand there and do everything possible to prevent these women and children, which is all who these people are.
How about the criminals? How about the terrorists? How about the convicted?
How do you sort
Stop. How do you know who it is?
How do you sort through?
That's the problem. I don't know who.
Stop. I'm sorry. I live next to these people. I can tell you they are women and they are children. Are there terrorists among them? I don't know. But I can tell you that
neither does the government.
But I can tell you, but let me tell. Okay, but what I'm telling you right now, practically speaking, is that there will be people, American citizens, who will prevent these little kids from being dragged out of these shelters. There are. And what's going to happen to these people? What is going to happen to the military when the military opens fire on us?
But no one's.
Can you say? Hang on one sec, Chuck.
We're way down a rabbit hole here.
Sounds like she's not ready, quite ready to sit down for a meeting at Mar-a-Lago. I think she's going to take her chances with these crazy talking points. And I don't know about you guys, but I have watched more CNN in the last couple of weeks than I ever have in my entire life. And I actually appreciate Scott Jennings going on the show and his level-headed take on these issues. But it's crazy to me that she's sitting there trying to say that they're not going to be able to distinguish between criminals and terrorists and traffickers and gang members and women and children. That how do you know? How do you know who's who? Like, really? I think it's probably going to be pretty obvious. And from what I can tell, as I said before, almost every state has the presence of the violent Tren de Aragua gang in it, and they are taking over a lot of areas of our major cities. And not only that, these gangs are targeting law enforcement. If law enforcement tries to do anything, they are being taken out by these gang members. And these people have no boundaries. Like, if you want to talk about soulless and evil, it's these gang members. Like, they are willing to do anything. So in my opinion, and probably, you know, where she's getting her talking points from, it is going to take our military to get these people out of here. And we're obviously not talking about women and children. We're talking about these people that are taking over apartment complexes and terrorizing innocent communities. They are hostile. They're the worst of the worst, and they have no problem taking down anybody who comes near the premises with the intention of removing them from it. But according to Democrats, groups that will take on our military and that we need our military to come in and remove, these people should be allowed to live in our neighborhoods next to our schools and next to our churches and next to our workplaces and next to our grocery stores. I do want to get into another clip here, equally as unhinged. We have a clip from a woman from the Washington Post. And her target of choice is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., choosing to spread the lie that things like questioning vaccines and questioning the development and approval process of things like medications means that this man actually wants to kill our kids. And that's the messaging that Democrats should run with on this issue. So let's have a listen.
You can't talk broad themes. You have to boil it down to nuts and bolts, and you have to be pithy. What do I mean by pithy? How about this? Republicans want to kill your kids. It's actually true. If you're going to oppose vaccinations, if you're going to stop breakthrough medical research, if you're going to allow minors and all sorts of people to get semi-automatic weapons, which they use to shoot up schools, well, then you are responsible for kids' health and death, unfortunately. It has to be that simple and that direct, and it has to be over and over and over again.
I'm going to leave her face right there for a second, because I think that demonstrates how unhinged she truly is. She's tying in school shootings to questioning vaccines, because, you know, I know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has a long history of, it's not vaccine denialism or anything like that. It's questioning these things, questioning the vaccine schedule, questioning like how many of these do we really need? What process have these been put through to make sure that they are effective, to make sure that they are doing the thing that they are labeled as, and not only that, that they're not causing harm or causing issues in other areas for our kids. And it's always wild to me that when someone wants to question an agency that has been able to run amok with no accountability, like the FDA or, you know, any of these food companies that are, you know, putting disgusting things into our food, the left flips out. Yet they think that we're the ones that want to control everyone. What we want is accountability. We want clean food. We want vaccines that go through an ethical process. And we want those that are creating our medications to be held responsible for giving us things that don't work or that do cause harm. And I understand that regardless of any medication, there's always going to be a risk. Any vaccine, there's going to be a risk, but it just seems like so much of it we're just expected to accept, and there's no backlash to them if horrific things happen on the other end of it. And that's something that we should all be unified in being against, in wanting a stricter process and making sure that whatever is being put out there is actually meant to make us healthier and to improve our well-being. And that just seems to be something that the left, whatever reason, is against, and which is also mind-boggling, because also the ones that have no problem pumping our kids full of testosterone and estrogen and puberty blockers. They have no issue with women that are transitioning to being a man, having a baby while they're loaded up with testosterone and breastfeeding that baby with all of these dangerous things coursing through their body. So I don't think they have any room to talk about, you know, causing harm to children when that is something that they don't ever seem to want to question. And opposing all of these things honestly just shows how much The left doesn't care about everyday people. They just care about opposing Trump and opposing the right, because it doesn't matter what it is. Like, if we want clean food, they have to oppose it. If we want safe vaccines and safe medications, they have to oppose it. If we want to deport terrorists and gang members, they have to oppose it. These are all things that should be unifying issues, but they can't have that. So they will oppose anything that comes from the right just for the sake of being against it. And again, this just confirms who really is responsible for dividing this country. This last clip that I want to show, this isn't about opposing anything. This is just a clip that was circulating on Twitter over the last couple of days. I don't know how to say the guy's name. I know it's Cenk. I think it's Cenk. And he's on the Young Turks podcast or platform. And he's someone that is known for being pretty far left, but he has come out recently calling out Democrats for being completely unhinged. And I think that he has definitely had his own share of unhinged moments, but he's like calling out Democrats and basically saying it's because you are so delusional. That is a large part of why we lost this election. I mean, never mind the fact that they put somebody in office that nobody liked, that nobody voted for, and that, you know, their own party made very clear that they had no interest in putting this person in a position of power at any point and only chose to support her when they were told to. But he's coming out and saying, you guys, you've got to get a grip, basically. So he's on this, he's on with Piers Morgan, and this is the guy in the middle that looks kind of like the crypt keeper. I think his name is, I know his last name is Lichtman. I want to say his first name is Allan. But apparently he had all of these predictions about Kamala Harris winning the election, and Cenk is calling him out for being so completely wrong about his predictions, and he just cannot handle it. So let's just have a look, because this was actually pretty amusing to watch.
Look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. And look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him
and
before
I
the
was
election.
not wrong. And that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who
You
won?
want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in
point.
a total
Don't make it
world of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah,
so
right,
it with
right.
your personal
Yeah,
attacks.
come find out again.
Make whatever
Okay.
point you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't
Look,
make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know
You
anything.
attacked me
You
personally.
You're so deluded.
Oh, right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program,
published
I've never been
13
able
books.
to finish a
How
thought.
many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for
brother,
personal
you got it
attacks.
wrong.
Say
You were
whatever you want.
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just
Don't
finish
call
a
me
goddamn thought
stupid.
ever on this show?
No, not if you're
Okay,
personally
well,
I
you proved
admitted
it.
I was wrong. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say,
What
it's
kind
great
of
to see
nonsense
you
is that?
Democrats
Yeah, I
all
know.
getting
Who
along
taught
so
you
well.
manners?
It's lovely
You
to
need
see a
one.
post
Can I
election
finish a
harmony as you all
goddamn
come
point?
together
We're
again.
just
Hey,
one
Allan,
right now.
Hey, Allan, you deserve a tall glass of shut up juice. So can you just shut up for a second and let someone who knows what
Not
they're
if
doing?
you're
so
gonna
right,
personally
Piers.
attack
You're
me.
so right.
So-
We're so
Make any
unified right now.
point you
Okay.
want.
So
I will not sit here and stand for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that. You don't boost
blasphemy
your ego
against you?
by
Who the hell are
attacking
you?
me
Are
like
you
that.
Jesus
Just
Christ,
make your
you
points.
loser? Okay, can
Make your
I
points.
just give the correct answer for once?
Oh, you deserve a tall glass of shut up juice. Oh, that reminds me of quotes from Happy Gilmore when he's like, "You eat pieces of crap for breakfast." Sorry guys, I'm not someone who swears, and so I don't swear on my show, so I always like edit myself. But the reason I wanted to touch on this one is because one of the main talking points I have heard from the left as they continue to unleash their unhinged rants about Trump winning the election is that people with college degrees primarily vote Democrat. And this, of course, has given them a false sense of intellectual superiority, and it largely fuels the talking point that they're educated and Trump supporters are not. However, this just is a blatant demonstration that a college degree has become something that is almost completely useless, and that having a degree is not the flex that it used to be. A degree does not equal intelligence, and you can have an extensive resume of academic accomplishments and still be the dumbest person in the room. And Lichtman's response to this, to what Cenk is saying to him, is that it just shows this lack of self-awareness and lack of humility that comes with this false sense of intelligence. Because even when they're so completely wrong, they still think they're right. They still think they are the smartest person in the room. And therefore, they demonstrate that they are usually, as I said, the dumbest person in the room. And it actually makes their lack of intelligence so much more glaring. So I just wanted to highlight that because I thought it was just amusing. Thank you for watching this clip from my weekly live stream. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe.